Hello and welcome to the Mental Health Gaming Podcast. Once again, I'm Bradley. And unbeknownst to me, and it's a bit of a shock, in a joint statement released earlier this week, Stu, along with Mark Kermode, Simon Mayo, Adam Buxton, Joe Cornish and Peter Crouch, decided they was going to break away and create a super podcast. I've had words. They've reversed their decision, so he's back with us today. Stu, how you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. I haven't quite got the reach or height of Peter Crouch, but I've probably got reasonable knowledge of the film world, so I could do that bit of it. But then again, Adam and
Adam and Joe.
You see, I'm reaching here because I haven't heard this news. What was this news?
What, the European Super League in football?
Oh, right, gotcha.
Yeah, you're
right.
the Tottenham. You're the Tottenham of.
Nobody wants to be Spurs.
You've not won anything. No one really cares, but for some reason you're there.
Yeah, that sums up my life. To be fair, yeah.
But yeah, anyway, that's been a whirlwind week in sport, and it's somehow dominated all the news. Whilst you've had the George Floyd murder trial going, not the George Floyd, the Derek Chauvin murder trial. Let's make sure that that's done correctly. More COVID stuff going on. Football's dominated the headlines. FIFA's a football game. It's also a video game. So what have you been playing, Stu?
Oh, what a smooth segue! That was excellent.
Good.
I've been playing on my my delightful new Switch Lite, and I really like it. It's really nice. I love the idea of the Switch, and I love the form factor, but I like the Lite even more than I did the original one. I think.
See,
yeah.
This brings me straight to an immediate question, and something I thought, like, you've always noticed with Nintendo hardware on their handheld side, the first iteration, apart from the Game Boy because it's iconic, but the first iteration, when you look back, always looks a bit, it's a bit ugly, or it's not very good, such as like the Game Boy Advance was improved on drastically. The original DS, just, you can't believe someone actually sat and designed the original DS. They just generally improve on it, but for me, I don't think I've yet looked at the Switch Lite and gone, oh yeah, I've got to have that over a Switch. But does it feel better as someone who's had a Switch?
I'm not sure if better. I prefer it, I think, partly because of the weight. It lives up to its name. You know, it is much lighter, which does make a big difference when you're holding it for significant gameplay sessions. You know, so I like that. But I did like the regular Switch, and I think because it wasn't like the first iteration of that design, because the first iteration of that design was the ridiculous tablet for the Wii U, which I also had, and I kind of liked, but it was bananas, you know. It was like, a Fisher-Price thing, and it just clunky, and it was horrible, really, but I defended it. But yeah, no, the Lite it's clearly not as good in that it doesn't have the rumble. And it's not just that it doesn't have HD rumble, it doesn't have any rumble.
Yeah.
And that is a bit of a drawback, you know, you can't really get around that. But other than that, the screen is still really nice. I'm not sure if it's quite as good, but only by a small amount. But you get much more of a, oh yeah, this is a mobile phone screen vibe from it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it doesn't strike me as, when I've looked at the screen before, and I say I've not actually physically played one properly, but yes, I suppose there's differences, but I don't think it's enough that I personally would care about the slight loss in quality.
No, definitely not enough, no. You really only have to have owned both before you'd notice any difference. And it's not as big a difference between the original Vita with the OLED and then the subsequent one. So it's nowhere near that level, that level of change. So yeah, no, it's great. I really like it. But that's not answering your question, which is what have I actually been playing on it.
Yes.
So I've been playing Streets of Rage 4. For a very good reason a few good reasons. One, I haven't played it since they did a rebalance patch on it. So I wanted to dive back in anyway. 2, I've never played it on the Switch. I've always played it on my PC with the joystick. And 3, I bought the Switch Signature Edition because I don't really buy physical games anymore. Like, I might get 1 or 2 a year, and they tend to be, stuff I've picked up for a $5 off eBay. But the odd one, I'll really throw me money at because I want the developers to get the cash. So I thought, Game Pass means they're getting very little from this.
Yeah.
Because that's what I was playing it on. So I thought, I'll get the Signature Edition. Then I've got a copy for good. And so I just got my new Switch. I was like, slap that in. So been loving that. I love that game. It was one of my games of the year last year. And just fantastic. So were you much of a fan of Streets of Rage 4? Did you have much of a go on it?
So I've played a little bit of it via Game Pass on PC, and absolutely fantastic. But it was, I always feel bad that I've done this. It was one I wanted to play instead on the Switch, but now I'm struggling with my vision to see properly on the small Switch screen that I'm now just want to play it again on the full TV or on the monitor so I can play it properly. But I've got such a backlog, I can't go back to it. But I'm very tempted to give it a full playthrough before the new Turtles game comes out.
Yeah, that's a real... really looking forward to that one as well. Yeah. Excellent stuff. Yeah, well, before I talk about the next one I've been playing, what about you? Have you been able to see enough to play this week?
Hey, yeah, I have actually. And I've played a game that pretty much covers why I love the indie game circuit at the moment and why it's so important to games. But I've been playing a game that you control using your eyes, and it's called Before Your Eyes, and it's just a really interesting concept. So I'm glad I'm talking about this on the podcast and not writing about it, because I want to convey how much I love this game, but without ruining the experience for anyone. And I feel that when you write about a game, you kind of almost have to give a bit away about it, but I don't want to do that. All I will say is it's a narrative-driven adventure type game, first-person adventure type game, and it's got a really interesting story, and it's emotional in all the right places. It can be funny at times, it can be really sad at other times, and it just kind of brings it together really, really well. But the idea is you're someone who's having an event happen and they're looking back on their entire life, so it's almost like the life is flashing before their eyes, except not flashing. It's obviously it takes a good couple of hours to play, a few hours to play through. And the idea is to advance time. You can use your webcam, and you set up eye tracking with your webcam,
right?
And basically it tracks what you're looking at, how you're moving your head, and you use that to look around the space you're in, and then you'll get little prompts come up that say, hey, blink now, and it'll do something. So you blink, and then you get to perform an action, and you kind of blink at other times, and it advances the story, and it's just such a really interesting concept. I mean, it's flawed, it's not perfect. There was a couple of times where it kind of lost what I was doing, and I couldn't get focused on the right parts. Now, it might be because I've not got the best webcam. I've got like a cheap eBay third party out of China job webcam, so that might have been it. However, my suggestion would be a lot of people these days probably have these cheap third party webcams, or they've got laptop webcams. So it's kind of sort of, I've got to say, aim at the developers that the technology doesn't work as well as it needs to all the time to get the best effect out of the game. But that being said, what it does do, and what makes me forgive it, is just the emotional gut punches that are there, the beautiful moments, and it's just an excellent concept. And they've tried something new, and I'm just so impressed that they've done it.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I know that they're trying to do stuff like that in VR, which would probably make it a lot easier, as you can have just even a sort of fairly crappy webcam, but really, really close to the eyes, to make it easier for it to pick up specific movements. and also obviously your head movement then can feed into it as well. So I think it's something that I'm really hopeful will work almost flawlessly in future and add some real new experiences.
Yeah, and it's what's really good is, even though like it is a game that's built around using a webcam and making you sort of like blink to do. I mean, you can play the whole game without touching a keyboard or anything like that, but you can turn on an option to use mouse and keyboard as well. So it's good that it's there. But anyone who does try this game, honestly, don't do it for mouse and keyboard. Find the way to do it. It'd be interesting to see that game done with it's a sort of game of Kinect would have been ideal for, or the PlayStation camera, things like that. And I don't know, I can't remember if the Switch itself has a front facing camera on it. I can't remember if it does anyway. I don't think it does, but that would be that's a shame, because again I think it would have been a really lovely personal experience on the Switch. But no, it's PC only at the moment, using the webcam, and utter flawed bit of genius, I would say. Give it a go if you get a chance. Give it a go.
Yeah, you take that over a boring walking around the same track over and over again type of game any day of the month.
I take it over Destiny 2, Anthem, Avengers, Fortnite, Ubisoft game 674, any of those, because okay, it's got one premise. It's a one-note game, but they've committed to it, and that's what's beautiful about it. And it's beautiful about the indie scene is they've committed to this one thing and gone, this is what we're going to do. And if I don't want to criticise them and say they've missed the mark, but for the little moments where it doesn't quite work perfectly, you can forgive that, because you understand it's not a massive budget. It's not cost them however many millions of dollars to make and still been a buggy piece of crap. It's probably cost them it has cost them a fraction of that, clearly, and it's a lot less buggy than some major games. And again, it feels different. It feels innovative, using technology most people have to hand in some fashion. But yeah, definitely give it a go, give it a play before your eyes. Absolutely brilliant.
Cool. No, I will do that. Yeah, the other one I've been playing on the Switch was, as promised, and it was the first game that I played, is Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection. And yeah, God, that's a hard one. Jeez, that's just totally kicking my rear end from one end of the graveyard to the next. It's really good. Because I can't get very far, I can't say whether it's a fantastic game or like rank it in the series yet.
Yeah,
but it's I really love the look of it. A lot of people were divided, but when you get it in hand and start playing, it's got a level of detail to it that's just really, really pleasant, and it's got its own aesthetics. Managed to carve something out from a very crowded market, I think, and make it stay in tone and keeping with the others, but to have its own style. And it always, in the past, those games were very kind of exaggerated, cartoony, and it's less exaggerated now, and it does add a different dimension to it. Yeah, I really quite like that. But the best thing about it seems to be that it has an upgrade tree. It's a literal tree, and
nice.
Yeah, it's got like little things hanging off it that you unlock, and you can unlock abilities, and that's not something that has ever been in the series before, not to my knowledge anyway. Because you have to like find hidden things in the levels, and that gives you like points that you can use to get these upgrades. But there are only so many per level, so I've done one upgrade, which is to get the lightning blast that I think was first in Ghouls and Ghosts, or was it just Super Ghouls and Ghosts? But anyway, one or the other. And it's really good, very handy. But it looks like you can level that up further as well. So it's got a good skill tree, but obviously I haven't got the skill to unlock the skill tree yet. And it's I would say, and I'm certainly not going to do a whole workman blaming his tools thing, but I know I would be like 3 or 4 times better at the game if I was using a joystick rather than the Switch pad,
Yeah.
So that is a factor. But, I am also a little bit duff, so that's fair enough as well. It's really good.
This is good where game. You've missed a trick with the Switch Lite, you see, because I'm fairly sure you can buy arcade sticks for the Switch that are compatible with the Switch, but obviously you'd need it in TV mode or desktop mode to be able to use it.
Funnily enough, I have that stick, but I use it for PC. That was always like kind of my intention when I bought it. It's like I could connect it to my old Switch, but mainly for the PC. So it's ironic that I have a Switch Lite, and now that will never be used for that ever again.
You have the tools, you just can't use them.
That's correct. Again, summary of my life.
I'm surprised no one's yet been able to hack the Switch Lite to be able to work on a TV in some way. I still find that amazing that can't be done in some fashion.
It will be. It will be. Yeah. I think it's just, it's because the security for it's not been cracked yet, and you'll need to have custom firmware on it to do that, but they will eventually, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Now, Ghosts and Goblins, and Ghouls and Ghosts, I can never remember which one I played when I was younger. I might have played both. Can't remember. Remember enjoying them. Now, I keep hearing people talk about how difficult that game is. Those games are. I don't remember them being difficult. I'm not trying to claim I'm some kind of mega gamer or anything like that, or I could speedrun anything. I just don't remember ever getting frustrated with it or going, this is like really hard. So I don't know if it is just me that is that, or whether it's like other people are just remembering it differently, but I seem to be in the minority with that one.
What did you play it on?
I'm going to say a SNES.
Well, Super Ghouls and Ghosts on the SNES is probably the hardest one. Well, I don't know now, because they're all so bloody hard that it's hard to differentiate. But it is hard. But I mean, the arcade versions of, you see, if you played some of the home releases of like Ghosts and Goblins, that would have been easier because they had fewer sprites on screen because they couldn't push all those sprites around.
Yeah.
But the reason why people say it's hard, the games are so hard, is because they are very cheeky in that they have hidden traps, they have things hit you off screen, they have things spawn on top of you, spawn underneath you. They like every goblin trick in the book. Goblin, no pun intended, or all puns intended. Trick in the book to mess you around and take your cash off you. And they were really cheeky, and it was so annoying. And the kind of later games were less like that. They were just like classically hard as opposed to unfair.
Yeah.
But there's loads of cheeky tricks in this one. Mostly stuff just spawning on top of you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about that. And that is a very nasty little ploy. But I kind of, part of me just like claps my hands, a little golf clap for him having the audacity to do it.
Yeah. I might have to go back. I might have to stick it on an emulator and go back and see how I feel.
Yeah.
See if I've still got the patience for it. But yeah, no, it's definitely one of those games I remember enjoying as a kid. And yeah, wouldn't mind revisiting. I'm going to say, actually, I didn't actually realise that it had been released on the Switch, so that's one that's news to me. So I'm going to dig that out.
Oh right. Oh, what, the new one?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So it's an entirely new game. It has themes and level elements from the previous games, but it's not. It's not just a rehash, and it's got the original designer working on it. Having built it, worked on it.
Nice.
So, there we go. And that's really kind of it for what I've had a chance to play this week.
So, I've had one more I've been playing, but another game I want to give a bit of a boost to and get people to know about it. So, first of all, I've been playing a game called Cozy Grove, and it's a Animal Crossing-like. I think that can become a genre. Animal Crossing. This will probably be more an Animal Crossing Lite, I suppose, where if you know the differences between a like and a light. Basically, you go onto this island and you need to set up there, and you meet the local residents, and you need to sort of improve your living, like all the things you have, and get to know all the residents, and it's time passes in real time, so you'll be able to do stuff one day and you've got to wait for the next day. But what I really like about Cozy Grove in my early times with it is that it's designed around playing 20 to 30 minutes a day. It's not designed around, here's this game mechanic and we're going to shoehorn it in this tedium of waiting. So whereas like with Animal Crossing, you go in and you go, I want to build a house here, and you've got to go, okay, so you've got to submit your plans for it, choose where you want it to go, and it takes X amount of time to go, or it'll go, you've done this bit now, we will get a museum here, and you've got to wait a certain amount of days. It doesn't go that far, but you do, you potter around for 20 to 30 minutes doing the tasks that you've been given. And then you can just do what you want really on the island if you want, or you can close it down and go back to it the next day. But whereas with Animal Crossing, you have to almost beat the game to get to the relaxing part, where you're just pottering around the island. With Cozy Grove, it's just from the very first moment, you kind of get into it and you go, blah, 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 calm. And it's a really, really, again, neat concept. It looks as though they've looked at Animal Crossing, looked at what's frustrating about it, and kind of smoothed it out just enough. Now, the caveat to that is it's not as good as Animal Crossing, bizarrely. Right. You can tell Animal Crossing has been around for donkey's years, and it's been sort of like built on and built on and built upon. And despite some of the Nintendo-isms with Animal Crossing, it's still an amazing, amazing game that stands out on its own. But Cozy Grove, as an alternative, or I don't want to say as an alternative actually, but as a companion to that, absolutely brilliant. And again, this is a much smaller team that are making it. They don't have the budget, and they're still making something that feels as professional as Animal Crossing is. But again, Animal Crossing is a better game, but that's not to take away from Cozy Grove. It's like saying that Toy Story 2 is better than Toy Story 3. It's a matter of opinion. One is better than one of them is better than the other, but it doesn't mean the other one's bad or anything. So it's really good, just not quite Animal Crossing levels on the whole. No, it's funny because there's kind of friction in Animal Crossing. I've not played much of it, but there's a friction in that it kind of it knows when to do things that rub you up the wrong way, so that you'll go back to it in a weird way. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's kind of like it keeps you on the hook with Animal Crossing by it being mostly work that's pleasant work. Yeah. But just enough of a, we're still cracking the whip on you a little bit. It is a little bit like the real world of work, so like your job might be kind of, 60 or 70% of, being able to do what you want sort of day to day within your tasks, and then 30% of your boss messing you around. Yeah. Whereas, Animal Crossing is far less than that, but it's still got that 1% or 2% of them cracking the whip and being complete major buttholes to you. The thing with Animal Crossing is when we got Edith her Switch, and I was doing some account jiggery pokery so she had access to as many games as possible, I somehow managed to completely wipe my Switch, which isn't a problem for most games. Re-download them, download the save file. But with Animal Crossing, it meant I lost my entire island, and I'd have to start again. And just the idea of starting all that again from fresh and having to go through that initial gameplay, I don't want to do that part again. And I would almost feel with Animal Crossing is that give me a complete offline mode and let me just build a life on this island. I understand I can't do the turnip market. I can't go to other people's islands or have other people to my island because it's offline. I don't get, maybe some of these special bonuses or anything I get that. But let me have an offline mode where I can just plop houses where I want. I want to just build an island and mess around on the island. And it's, that initial, I would say 20 to 30 hours you need to play of Animal Crossing is the most frustrating before you get to why people want to play Animal Crossing. But Cozy Grove, does a really good job. I don't think it's going to have the longevity. That's the difference. I don't think Cozy Grove is going to have the overall longevity. But what I'm playing at the moment, really, really good.
Good stuff.
And just to give, it's a game that's not out. And it's on Kickstarter at the moment still. But you might be aware, Stu. Don't know if I ever said this, but I like a puzzle game.
No, mate. No, I never mentioned that.
And aside from Tetris, I really like the panel de pong games, Tetris Attack, whatever people want to call them. And also like Lumines. That's quite well known. But there's a game coming out called Spirit Swap. And basically it's taken the concept of panel de pong, mixed it with a little bit of Lumines, including some really lovely music, and gone, there you go. There's your game. It's as though someone's made a game specifically for me. It's on Kickstarter at the moment. It's got, probably at the time this goes out, a couple of weeks left. It's met its goal already. They've got some stretch goals. Really impressed with the launch window they're giving it. So they're taking the funds now and they've said October 22 is their goal for getting it released. So it's not as if they're trying to get people on and going, oh, we'll have it out later this year. They're being very honest with when they'll get it released. I believe it's like there are some working alphas and stuff like that available for it. But small indie studio, game looks absolutely sound. Watch the trailer, get drawn in by the amazing music that's with it, wonderful graphics, and just get on that one. Get on that. It's funded already, but do check it out and get in early, and you've got a nice game in time for Christmas of next year.
So what formats is it going to be available
I think it's
for?
PC only at the moment.
Right.
But I don't know. I think if it does well enough, and I think if it's successful, gets enough signal boosting from people, maybe a indie publisher picks it up, a Curve, a Devolver or something like that, maybe they can push it out on consoles down the line. But as far as I know, it is Steam only at the moment.
Cool. Oh, sorry, what was it called again?
Spirit Swap.
Spirit Swap. Ah, very cool. Nice.
And I say, with no actual panel de pong coming at the moment, I'll take it.
I have never played that / Tetris Attack.
Should.
Never played it.
Get it on. You can get the a SNES version. So if you've got an emulator, you can get the SNES version of it. Or if you've got a DS, there is a DS version called Planet Puzzle League in Europe, which is basically panel de pong, but it's the European name for it. Give it a go. It is. I absolutely love it. It's not as easy to understand initially as Tetris or Columns or Puzzle Fighter or anything like that. It does take a little while to get used to the mechanics and learning the slight nuances of when to move stuff, when to get it to drop, to get chains and stuff like that. But once it clicks, it's wonderful.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I'll check that out.
And if you want to get an idea of the concept, Flip On is available really cheap on Steam, which is a panel de pong clone. And I think I've spoken about that before. So, anyway, moving on. We've not checked emails for a bit because we've both been really busy either with work or blind. We'll get back to emails next week. But if you do want to get in touch, then use podcast@mentalhealthgaming.com. And if there is anyone that has got in touch, we promise we'll get to those next week. We'll be more organised. I say, we don't know.
Lies.
Yeah, lies. So, I want to talk a little bit now about autism in and around gaming. I watched a video recently from the fascinating, really, really like watching her stuff, Laura K. Dale. And she's got a video series on YouTube called Accessibility, where it looks around, the accessibility for disabled gamers and other things that surround that as well. And I caught a video the other day where she's talking about simulator games and autism, and how lots of autistic people become very obsessed with a subject. And it's almost cliche, but a lot of autistic people become obsessed with trains, especially. She said from her experience, it's the motion of being on a train, almost, and sort of like that feeling, the sounds that come with it when you're on a train, and all kinds of things like that really sort of like...
Oh.
Lead to... Sorry, I was sure what the sound was. Was that you being sort of like, I didn't know that, or...
No, I genuinely didn't. No, it's fascinating.
I kind of what I'm talking about, that's a weird noise.
Yeah, a lot of people say that about me.
But yeah, I was fascinated by it. But then it sort of like struck something about me. I went, okay. Yeah, I get that. My son, he's quite... I don't think he realises it as such, but he quite likes trains. He finds them a fascinating subject. And when I look back, I was quite interested in trains. But again, such was my self-awareness of being bullied, I was never going to turn around to people and go, oh, yeah, I really like trains, because, I grew up in the 80s and 90s. I'd have had even more stuff for people to mentally abuse me with at school. So I would never admit to that sort of thing. And again, I'm not going down the line of, I'm a train spotter, or, I want to go and watch trains or anything like that. But being on a train is really calming. I actually like being on a train. Anyway, what Laura K. Dale started speaking about was the simulator games. So Train Simulator from Dovetail and things like that. And the dangerous pricing model that you get with those games. So she was talking specifically about Train Simulator 21, which is actually just Train Simulator, I want to say 13, I think she said. And it's just been built on over the years, essentially. So it's essentially expansion packs, but they've sold it as a separate game each year. He says she's not got a problem with that, and I get that, because I think they take the old one out of circulation when they bring out the new one, and so on. But your base game is you get a small number of tracks, and you get a small number of trains. Like, it covers most train types, but you get like a single train for each type, or two, depending on what version you get.
Yeah.
But they're all really accurately modelled. I mean, I've played Train Simulator, and yeah, the model accuracy in those things is just beyond what my mind can comprehend. But the problem you get with those games is that you have to purchase the trains you want. You have to purchase the tracks you want, and you don't buy a UK track network for X pounds. You buy a route. So you would buy, London to Southampton, or you'd buy Liverpool to Manchester, Birmingham to London, or something, or whatever it is. You buy those individual routes, and then you buy the individual trains to go with them as well. And as she points out in a video, she gets it, because the work that must have to go into making those, they can't just give those as free updates.
Yeah.
They can't charge 79p. So they're anywhere between like £15 up to about 35 quid, depending on what you get. And she said with it that the problem is, when you're an autistic gamer and you have an obsession with that pricing model, it's not predatory in the way loot boxes are predatory, but for a subset of people, for autistic people, it does become an issue, because as she said, she really wanted, I think, like the Bournemouth to Southampton route, I think it is, she said, that she used to travel for work or university or whatever it was. And the idea of being able to see those tracks, the stations that she's seen for years as she used to make that route, was just something that really spoke to her. So she would spend on that, and then the trains you can get for that. And all of a sudden, the 25 to 30 quid for the base game, plus 15 quid for a train, plus another 25 quid for a track, and then you want a different track. That £35 very quickly can become 150 quid, but spent in those small increments you don't notice it. She said it's not value for money, but, and here's the thing, there are over 700 pieces of DLC for Train Simulator.
Wow.
And she gets, again, it's not designed for you to buy every bit of DLC. It's not going to, like, as a completionist, you should at no way be buying every single piece of DLC. It's mainly for, maybe you want to try out a route in America, you can get that route. But with the autism and the obsessiveness that comes with autism, it becomes very, very dangerous that you will go down a route of spiralling. And then she spoke about that it's the same as why she, instead of playing real life collectible card games, she actually plays digital versions, especially ones that are self-contained, because it stops her spiralling with real life spending and going out and spending money on those things. And it got me really thinking about it. I've always tried to avoid things like drinking to excess. I've never taken recreational drugs, and I've realised and stopped. I won't gamble because I know of the obsessiveness. The times before where I've had like a free bet from a promotion, I've given it a go, won some money, and I've had like 45 quid sitting in the account that I've got for nothing essentially, and gone and bored. Oh, there's a random horse race, I'll put that on. I'm not saying then I'm a gambling addict and I'm doing it, but just that incessant need of, I've got that money sitting there and I could make that more because I've already made it more. And I know that's what gambling's designed to do. But with the obsessiveness that I have, now realising, there is ADHD and an element of autism or Asperger's there, I get drawn into it. And I've lost that, and luckily enough, I don't have the money to then pump more money into it. So I now completely will not gamble because I know I could be drawn in. But it then got me thinking about sort of, again, the regulations that need to come in for loot boxes and stuff is that it's not just predatory on kids, and we focus a lot on the kids with this, and it's not just predatory on the addicts, but it is very, very easy, if you are someone who's obsessive by nature, to get so drawn into that stuff. And when you hear someone talk about how it can be dangerous for a game that's not predatory in nature, then there's so much that can be an issue with games that are predatory in nature. And we really do need that regulation to come in soon for this, because we need to stop the gambling side of video games. We need to make them more self-contained. And I don't want to say, I don't know what the answer is, but for something like Train Simulator, where, I don't know, do the quick maths, that 700 pieces of DLC at, say, an average of 15 quid a pop, you're looking at about £1,800 potentially to spend out. I think that's right. No, that's wrong, isn't it? I've got to add another zero to that.
Don't ask me when it comes to math.
I need to add another zero to that, don't I? Really? It's about £18,000. But where do you draw the line? Because yes, I can't afford £18,000 on DLC for Train Simulator, and they need to have something in place that stops someone like me trying to spend that money. But at the same time, if you're a millionaire and you're really into the Train Simulator games, should there be something in place to stop you just going and chucking 18 grand on everything, which is the equivalent of me spending a couple of quid on a coffee? So I don't know what the answer is, but looking at sort of like the dangers that are there and knowing what I've done, I've sat there at times and looked at games and gone, I could get that DLC. I've not even finished the main game, going, I could get that DLC. I should get that just in case. I don't know what the answer is, but it'd be interesting to see the psychology behind it and what can be done to help really protect that subset of gamers.
Yeah, I think regulation's really important. I think it's the only thing that could ever really be done, because I guess with like Train Simulator that it costs a lot to produce, and it's never going to be mass market. It's always going to appeal to a niche. But the money's there if you put the legwork in to do the development and to keep the DLC coming. So because it's niche, it's almost like, you know, designer clothes and stuff, in that they are going to be expensive. And yeah, the only thing that would stop them going, well, you know, if we can charge a tenner for this route, we can charge 15 quid for it. And if we can charge 15 quid for it, we can charge 18 quid for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's almost no cap on that market, because it's not, people are not going to wander in and buy your product. It's not going to be like, oh, a new Call of Duty. Oh yeah, right. Well, they've took a £5 off. I'll have a go. And then, you know, a week down the line, they're buying a neon yellow M16 machine gun DLC. It's not going to be like that. It's obviously going to be people who sort that thing out.
Yeah.
And and so the only way that you could ever stop it is to regulate it. But as we know, you know, there's no desire at the higher echelons of power to put any limitation or very little limitation on gambling. So yeah.
But that's the negative side. There is a really positive side to these games, though, and I found it with Microsoft Flight Simulator, with Train Simulator, with City Skylines, with a 2 Point Hospital, with Roller Coaster Tycoon, Jurassic World Evolution, any of those simulator or management type games. I have always found those, even though I've never been good at them at all, there's something so relaxing about them that take you away from real life in a totally different way to playing a Doom or even playing Tetris or anything like that. It's a totally different thing, and I can't explain what it is, what it taps into. But it's the idea of being able to, one, I suppose, like with the trains, for example, it's controlling the train, or you can just sit in a seat and let it drive itself, which is something else, and just enjoy the journey. And with Flight Simulator, you can either make it sort of like as complicated and as realistic as you want, or again, almost sort of like just enjoy the journey. And having that sort of level of control over a city skylines, and just going, I'll take all the money, you know, just put in all the cheat codes and have all the money and everything unlocked, and what city would I build, and being able to live out those fantasies. And, you know, I've often looked back at old cities and the patterns I create, there's this weird... It's not a symmetry, but I look at the balance of it, and you can almost see how my brain's working and what I'm doing. It has to be a neatness. There has to be lack of chaos within that. And those games allow you to do that. And it's like when I look at a bus route in real life, and it doesn't always go from A to B, because obviously it's got to do other things to do it. And whenever I'm on a new route, or I'm not 100% sure where it's going, I might know where the final destination is, but I don't know where that route's going. It really weirds me out, and I struggle with that. Or if I've got to go somewhere new on public transport, until I've done that a couple of times, I'm so alert and sort of like, right, I've got to make sure I don't miss, and I will double check everything, make sure I'm not missing the stop, and so on and so forth. You know, I'm assuming I look normal on the bus, but who knows? No one ever sits next to me, so. But like with trains, there's something comforting about a train that you can't kind of deviate. Once you're on your track, you're on the track. So it's have you ever been on the London Underground?
Oh God, yeah, billions of times. Yeah,
I don't know. You're from the northwest, so you never know. You might not have come down to the Big Smoke.
Yeah, my sister used to live in London.
So most of the lines are fine, and I get on okay with them, either straight, you know, back and forwards and stuff like that. But what always gets me every single time is when you get options, and you've got a train that might go off and finish in one destination on the same line, another might go in the other destination. And I'll look and see what's coming. I can't. I struggle with that to a degree, because it's like, but that shouldn't do that. It's giving me options on a train. I shouldn't get options on a train. It should just take me to a destination. The Underground's really confusing. Again, I'm going off track here. Pun, not
ironically.
Actually. But trains are really calming.
I see. Yeah, no, I totally get that. So,
Yeah.
if you have a problem with that level of control, or feeling like there's no control in your life, or you're non-neurotypical and that affects you in that way, then having that kind of I like that thing in the train of you can have that level of speed and power and comfort. Not all the time, not by any stretch of the imagination, not in the UK. But anyway, that kind of, the speed and the power and the comfort, but it's always along one track, always to one destination. There's no fear. You can just put that aside and it's going to direct you. Yeah, that's very appealing in a lot of ways, and
it's why I like
that's really cool.
It's why I like the Circle line as well in London, because if you fall asleep on the Circle line, you just back around anyway, so you can just stay on it if need be.
Yeah,
rather than finding yourself sort of like the like somewhere in West London, and that's where the trains terminate. You're like, bugger. Now I've got to work out exactly where I am. You just stay on the Circle line until you get back round. Lo's a confident driver. And whenever we drive somewhere, she's more than happy to go, I'm not happy with the sat-nav. We'll try this way. I'm sure we can go this way. And she'll go and do it. And I no, please. The sat-nav says this. The sat-nav says this. We go this way. I want to go this way. And she's like, no, ignore the sat-nav. The sat-nav's crap. Yeah, at the same time, if we go out and set out, we've done it before and we've gone to tell you, we just go for a drive, see what we find and stuff. I'm okay with that, but if we've got a destination to go to, as soon as there's any deviation, that's me, I'm done. I am absolutely done. It's the same as I've got to be somewhere early. I would rather be somewhere like 3.5 hours early than risk being 10 minutes late. I have issues, Stu.
Yeah, I kind of got that. Last year. No, I'm just messing. No, that's really cool. And just to briefly bring it back to DLC before we finish on it, when we're talking about like the quality of it and giving people what they want, it's a great way, like when it's done right, of keeping that game alive. Because like a good example is R-Type Final 2, obviously stupid title because can't be final twice, but like when R-Type Final
could be final 15 times if you Square Enix, so you know.
Well, that's true. Yeah, but when R-Type Final came out 15 years ago or more, it's kind of like that's it, one and done, and then it's taken all this time to see something else in the franchise. If they'd had DLC, it would have been all over that, and it really benefits the developer as well, because they don't have to build a new engine, they only have to build new content for the same engine, and they can make a relatively high profit off the piece of content that they're creating, and everyone's happy. They're getting money, the customer's getting it, and it links into Streets of Rage 4, which is getting some DLC as well. So all of that's really good, and you can see when you latch onto something that you love, having more of it that doesn't exploit you is a fantastic thing.
Yeah, actually, very briefly on that, you mentioned about adding DLC. What has always really surprised me, or they've moved it in different directions, I suppose, but even though I wasn't the biggest fan of the game, but Grand Theft Auto 4, when it had the DLC stories within the game world, so you had the Ballad of Gay Tony, whatever the other ones were. I'm sure that was Grand Theft Auto 4. I might be wrong.
Might have been 3. I don't know. I never played
whichever one it was, but it kept you in that open world, that same game agent, that same open world, and brought those stories in. And I actually looked at it and just went, yeah, that's it. If you're going to create a big open world and you want to create something that's vast, you could create just loads of little individual stories within that game that you could do as very cheap DLC or even episodic. So you could have, say, the Ballad of Gay Tony could have been a series. So, you know, you pay £3 and you get part 1, and then you pay another £3, get part 2, or you get, that's what you use a season pass for. And you could have like the Ballad of Gay Tony set in GTA 4. You could have another story, you know, released later that year, set all within, not just within that world, but in that same map with using the base game. And And I'm surprised that never happened in that way. I mean, you started getting the events in Fortnite and stuff like that, and we did start getting episodic games, but they were always like, apart from Fortnite, which I think does it fairly well, you look at stuff like Life is Strange, which is absolutely fantastic game, but I'm looking forward to playing through all of those again at some point. But they're individual games. They're not set within this same world. And I don't think we've ever sort of like use those open worlds to their full potential.
Yeah, I agree.
Which is a shame, especially as they get bigger and bigger and bigger. I think The Witcher came close as well with like Blood and Wine and stuff like that. But yeah, we've just never seen it to their full potential. I'd love to spend time in a portion of San Andreas, for example, just doing a smaller story, not just more fetch missions to bulk it out. But we'll see. Maybe further down the line. So yeah, I did have a longer point with all of this, but as people are aware by now, I have a habit of going off subject a little bit. But yeah, hopefully autistic gamers, they do have what they need out there, and the simulator games, whilst there is some issues with, I suppose, their pricing model, are a great release. And Laura K. Dale, her whole series of accessibility, go search for it on YouTube, check it out. She covers all of this stuff much, much better than I can. But yeah, that's all I can really say about it for now. So I'm going to shut up and I'm going to let Stu take over.
Yeah, I really found that fascinating. That's really great. And I will look up Laura K. Dale and watch some videos. Just that thing of what people, the way that things connect with people. Sometimes when it's outside of your own experience, you've got literally no idea that it exists or exists in that form. So yeah, it's fascinating. It's great stuff. And on that subject, we have lots of great content that might connect with you. So please do look it out. You obviously have the website, and you can email us at podcast@mentalhealthgaming.com and support us on Patreon or Coffee if you wish.
We need money for servers.
Yeah, not for meth, honest.
Or curtains.
It's definitely, or curtains.
Yeah, I was asking about curtains on Twitter today, and then and then I had a notification going, oh, bugger, I missed some older payments on some server costs. So I was like, crap, I need to see if anyone could donate just after asking about where I can buy curtains on the cheap. I was like, it was nothing to do with that. So yeah, if you want to help us keep stuff up and running and just ease the worries a little bit, then yeah, Coffee and Patreon.
Absolutely.
Or cold hard cash.
Yeah. Cash down the G-string always works for me.
I will dance for it, I don't mind.
Exactly, I'll do that, yeah. Sorry, I just went off then. Some very bad thoughts. Anyway, so yes, thanks for tuning in. Please do donate towards our dancing on stripper poles fund. And apart from that, have a good week. Stay safe and stay sane.